Last week we talked about our must-haves, the scenes that you know will have to go in your novel based on your log line. This week, let's take a look at those notes that you've created after having done the homework and decide if the scene belongs in the first, second, or third part of your book. First, let's figure out what goes where. Now look, I know that there are some brilliantly successful books that mix things up. John Darnell's Wolf in a White Van, for example, was on the long list for the National Book Award. Brilliant book. And he mixes up time, doing what he calls braiding, the past and the present and the far past. But again, that's not you. Not this time. Not this time. Right now, I want you to get a feel for how a traditional book is put together, because after that, you can do whatever you want. What has to happen in the first third of the book? We have to meet and fall in love with your main character. We have to have an idea of what that character's main strength and main weakness is. What else? We need to know what the story problem is and what the character wants and why it's going to be hard to get it. So there has to be some scene where the character is introduced to what will become the main story problem, the problem to solve. This could take several scenes, but the clump of scenes where we see what she wants and why it's impossible for him to get it, that goes into the first third of your novel. You might have a scene in the first third where the character doesn't want to act. It's hard for all of us to change, even when we know that that's an important thing to do and when we have compelling evidence that things just aren't working the way they are. So you could have a scene where the character throws on the brakes, and then a scene where your character finally has to get involved. At the end of the first third, the character has to be all in, actively committed to trying to get his goal. Keep in mind, too, that this first third business, it's not a mathematical formula. The second third is the part that's the chunkier, much bigger part than the first or the last sections. So these are just rough. The second chunk, that bigger chunk, that's where the character's blocked over and over and from getting the things that he wants. The obstacles you've jotted down go here. This is where everything that the main character tries takes him farther from his goal. Here's where he's going to have to come face to face with his own weakness, the stuff that gets him in the way of getting what he wants. He's going to have to change and grow if he wants to win. He hasn't done it yet, but he's going to have to. And this is where he comes face to face with that horrible realization that things are not working, that everything he's tried is just going up in smoke, and now it's time to pull out the stops, to address whatever it is that's the weakness that's been holding him back, and to get on with it. The last chunk, he's going to have to finally confront that big vulnerability that you built into him in the first third of the book, and in changing, he's going to have to face that big bad guy one last time. That's the showdown, the character's last stand moment where he finally gets what he wants, dies trying, or reaches some bittersweet middle ground. So rearrange those scenes, place them in the section that you think that they most belong, knowing that yes, it can be it's subject to change. And again, you're not writing scenes, you're jotting things down. You're jotting notes down for when you will write those scenes. And while you're at it, see if anything else sparks. Are there scenes that are starting to emerge? Scribble some notes about those. Stick them where you think that they might go. Again, don't try to be too specific yet. Just sort of pop them into the appropriate section. The main thing is continue to have fun. And I'll see you next week.